Hey everybody, I'm Kevin McCarthy.
And I am Lauren Veneziani McCarthy.
And we are two married film critics who live in the Washington, D.C. area. And we actually met literally in a movie theater. And if you're watching us for the first time, we are going to review Black Panther today. So we'll get to that shortly. But we did meet in a movie theater for the first time.
Yes, I did reviews for DCFilmGirl.com. I still put on my reviews on DCFilmGirl.com, and we met through mutual colleagues in a press screening in Washington, D.C. And of course, Kevin is on Fox 5 every single morning, Monday to Friday.
That's right, yeah. I'm my biggest fan. And we met in 2012 in a movie called Safe House, a Ryan Reynolds and Denzel Washington film. Started dating, and then we got married. Our wedding was movie-themed. True Romance was the song we walked down to the aisle to.
And then we did the Pulp Fiction wedding dance.
Yeah, we did the Pulp Fiction wedding dance. It was awesome. So now we're here. This is our movie room, and obviously you can tell we have a ton of Blu-rays and posters, and we're also big television show fans as well. So we hope to kind of expand this into also television, because you watch more TV than I do.
I definitely watch more TV than Kevin does, but he will catch up on some good Netflix shows like Stranger Things and some of the bigger ones.
Yeah, and so this week we are going to review Black Panther. I do want to give you guys a sense of kind of where we are as film critics, the kind of movies that we like. We'll maybe go through some of our favorite films of last year real quick, just to talk about maybe like what films we loved in last year. We're big, massive Christopher Nolan fans in this house.
Yes, so we have Nolan stuff all over this house. We have a Dunkirk poster, we have the Dunkirk film camera, IMAX film strips. So Dunkirk was easily both of our number one movie of last year. Now, we obviously don't agree too much, but with that one, I mean, Kevin has talked about this movie so much, but I personally loved it just from a cinematic experience. It was my favorite cinematic experience I had last year. I loved the cinematography, the direction, the editing, Hans Zimmer's masterful score, and I loved how it was like a true ensemble performance, and I just could not get enough of it. I loved it.
Yeah, this is our first time ever doing this. We're kind of filming this or doing this on the cheap right now. My phone is recording this video on top of the Nolan 4K Blu-ray collection, which is sitting on top of a Star Wars.
It's like our tripod setup.
So it's on top of a Star Wars book and DVD Blu-ray collection, so that's just sitting like that. But Nolan's my ultimate current filmmaker, besides Quentin Tarantino, of course. You can see Pulp Fiction behind us and Interstellar, but Dunkirk blew my mind. I saw it 9 times, 6 times in theaters, 3 times in 70mm IMAX, twice in regular IMAX digital, a bunch at home. Loved that movie, and luckily my wife supports my love of that film. We have Dunkirk stuff all over the house, and she even got me a signed poster for my birthday.
No, was it for Christmas?
Might have been for Christmas.
Yeah, it was for Christmas. Your birthday's next month.
Yeah, it's in March. Yeah, it is. I always forget that. But
there was so many other good movies to come out last year too. Wonder Woman, of course.
Yeah,
that was
Patty Jenkins.
Amazing. That was Patty Jenkins still got robbed at the Oscars, but
and there's a common theme there, by the way, with Nolan and Patty Jenkins both shooting on film. One thing you'll probably gather in a lot of these video reviews that Lauren and I do is about I love film over digital. I'm a huge film advocate, as is obviously Christopher Nolan. So anything shot on film, I always just kind of I love the grain of the way film looks, and Dunkirk being shot.
And another film, Mother.
Yeah, Mother was shot 16mm. We love Jennifer Lawrence. We just interviewed her yesterday
for Red Sparrow when she came to DC to do her tour for that. But I absolutely love Mother. It was my number 3 last year. I know there was a lot of mixed reviews on that film, but I particularly loved it, and Darren Aronofsky, the director, shot on a bunch of different types of films.
Yeah, but 16mm was like his main.
16mm, okay.
Yeah, that was like his main source, and it was incredible what he did with that film. And we gotta say rest in peace to Johan Johansson, who did the sound editing and mixing on that movie. He obviously made some of the greatest scores of all time with Arrival and Sicario. Prisoners.
And The Theory of Everything, too. A bunch of great films. But, I mean, so many good films to come out last year. Get Out as well.
Get Out's a masterpiece. I think that... And that's a film that requires multiple viewings. If you haven't seen if you saw Get Out once, it's great. But on the layered 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th viewings of that film, I'm still finding brand new things. And the idea that a first-time filmmaker made that movie.
Get Out, Dunkirk are probably the two films I watched most of last year. And I know this didn't make your top 10, but I personally love The Disaster Artist because I loved movies about... I like movies about the making of movies. And I know there's controversy going on with James Franco, but his performance is phenomenal. Dave Franco, his brother, plays Greg in the movie. He's great. And I've seen that movie so many times too.
Yeah, we love movies about movies. I mean, like, there's a Hitchcock poster right behind our phone, and I even loved the Anthony Hopkins film Hitchcock, which was a couple years back. But Disaster Artist was really cool, and I never knew that Tommy Wiseau shot The Room on both 35 millimeter and digital cameras, which was like the most ridiculous thing you could ever do. But Disaster Artist was really cool.
It was fun.
But because I also felt like it celebrated the passion of filmmaking. As bad as The Room was.
And all of the actors looked just like the actors that were in The Room.
Yeah.
He did it very, very well. I also loved Call Me By Your Name with Armie Hammer and Timothée Chalamet. Yes.
Luca.
Yes, directed by Luca, who's doing Suspiria. I think it's coming out later this year.
Yeah.
They haven't done a release date for it. Love Call Me By Your Name because I thought that was just a beautiful romantic story about two people falling in love, and they're about somebody's first time of falling in love and the coming of age story. I saw that 3 times, and the cinematography is beautiful in that as well.
Yeah, it's a really good movie, and again, shot on film, beautiful cinematography, great score. Armie Hammer's amazing. Stahlberg's speech at the end of that movie is probably one of the greatest movie speeches of all time, and I'm hoping that it goes down as one of those like historic speeches in movies when he's talking to the
I think
the
it
son.
will as the film goes on.
Yeah.
And then another one we liked was The Big Sick.
Yeah, The Big Sick was great.
So
Kumail
good.
Nanjiani, we love him. That was a really well-written script.
Yes.
I was a massive Blade Runner 2049 fan.
Oh yeah, Blade Runner. I mean, that was definitely my top 5 too.
Yeah, and I disagree with, and listen, I have no means or no smarts to say why I feel this way, but I still feel that Deakins should shoot film. But I mean, it's a gorgeous movie. The cinematography is amazing.
For that film, though, if they were going to choose digital, I mean, it kind of makes sense for that film because it's futuristic. But I know how you feel. That film looks grainy and it's beautiful. But the cinematography in that was. I mean, I know Dunkirk was great too, but that was probably my favorite cinematography of last year.
Every shot in Blade Runner 2049 is masterful. I mean, Skyfall was shot digitally, and that looked really, really good. But see, to me, a cinematographer who's worked for decades on celluloid and film, then switching to digital, still has an eye for things and can still shoot and light things a certain way. I just don't like the whole wave of filmmaking going towards digital. Though last year, with films like Dunkirk and The Post, and Wonder Woman.
I'm just laughing because this is what I hear about every day. Yeah. He just continues to, every single time we mention a movie, he's going to continue why that director should have shot on film versus digital.
It's true.
Back to The Big Sick.
Yeah, I like The Big Sick. I just wanted to state my case on Nolan and all these filmmakers.
I love The Big Sick because, and I know you did too, because I thought Kumail Nanjiani did such a fantastic job telling his own real-life story, and it was the perfect blend of comedy, mainly comedy, with a little bit of drama, and it was like an amazing romantic comedy. Zoe Kazan, Holly Hunter, Ray Romano, great cast, totally worth the best original screenplay nod I got at the Oscars.
And I really loved Good Time last year. Good Time was another film.
Good Time. We love Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson, another movie shot on film. And the filmmakers, the Safdie brothers, are just brilliant. I mean, it was very much like a modern-day Goodfellas. I heard a lot of people comparing it to that, but a lot of themes of last year of movies that I loved particularly were films that used score and cinematography as leading characters. Dunkirk was one of those, obviously with Hans Zimmer's score, as Lauren mentioned, and Hoytema's cinematography, but Good Time was another film that used a score and cinematography as a leading character as well. So we just saw Black Panther. I saw it for the second time, she saw it for the first time, but we're watching the trailers for the movie, and like, you can tell when something is filmed in digital. I remember there was a trailer for some movie prior to the Mission Impossible trailer, and then it just looked so like you're watching TV, and then Mission Impossible 6 trailer comes on,
and
Fallout.
It looks like you're in a theater watching a movie with the grain.
I want it to look like a movie. I want it to be cinematic. I don't want it to look like I'm watching real people or watching TV at home, as Tarantino would say.
Right. But Black Panther was really fun. I've been excited because I think the trailers actually look so good, and I'm actually, if all of my friends who know me with the movies and Kevin know that I personally don't like watching trailers unless I know the story of it prior, like something like where I've read the book like Hunger Games or the 50 Shades trilogy. So I don't really like watching trailers because I feel like they give too much away nowadays. But I love the Black Panther trailer, particularly because the songs and the way they were edited, the cast looks great. So I was so excited to finally see it today, and I really, really liked it. I'm really happy that Black Panther got his own movie in the Marvel Universe.
Well, Ryan Coogler's just one of the most exciting filmmakers working today. The kid's 31 years old. I call him a kid, but he really kind of is, considering the, filmmakers that are making movies at that level aren't usually that young.
Yeah, Fruitvale Station, Creed, such an amazing filmmaker and such a young guy.
Fruitvale was a film that Lauren and I both sat through the credits and cried during.
I just couldn't get up.
It was a really wonderful film and just a great story that Michael B. Jordan and Coogler brought to the screen. And then Creed. But the beauty of Ryan Coogler prior to Black Panther, in my opinion, was his ability to blend technical and emotional things really, really well. He loves a good long shot of action.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Creed, the second fight in the film when he's fighting the trainer's son, all in one shot. I think it was like 2 rounds of fighting. He's just really, really good at that. So.
And I love that Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler are going to become this dynamic duo of actor and directors, like Leo is with Scorsese. Like, I mean, I just
or De Niro and Scorsese.
Yeah, I could just see like them doing so many films together in the future. And we'll get into Black Panther, but Michael B. Jordan, I'm just sitting here blown away by his performance. He was personally my favorite part of the film.
It's arguably the greatest comic book villain in the MCU, I would argue. I saw an article on Cinema Blend today asking like that exact question. I think the problem with superhero movies these days is the villain, and we talk about this a lot. It's very CGI heavy.
Well, a lot of these Marvel. I mean, it's like any of these where we have so many superheroes and powerful characters coming together. The only thing that seems to be a threat to them is this massive CGI character. Absolutely loved Wonder Woman, but the character is like this big CGI character,
which was fine.
It was fine, but it's like it's just nice to see a villain where you can have sympathy for him. He's a human. It's just it kind of like how the Joker in The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger, he was human. He just was messed up. So it was just really interesting to see that Marvel brought this type of villainous character back in. But what is Black Panther about?
Well, one quick comment on the Black Panther villain. That is the kind of the brilliance of what the movie does, is it allows you to feel sympathy for a villain, and which is very hard to do considering this guy's name is Eric Killmonger, and he has a scar on his body for every person he's killed. And so it's this weird dynamic as you're watching the film where you're completely conflicted. At one moment you're like, this guy is awful, he deserves to die, and then the next moment you're like, whoa, what his ideas are for the Wakandan people, it's interesting. So I think that when you see the film, you'll be as conflicted as we were.
Definitely.
But the plot is pretty simple. The movie does a great job of standing alone completely in the MCU. So the MCU, obviously the Marvel Cinematic.
You don't need to watch a film prior to this.
Right.
Like go ahead and do so, but it takes place right after Civil War.
Yeah. But if you are watching our video right now and you've never seen a Marvel film, you will be able to follow this.
Right. You'd be able to go and buy a ticket and see Black Panther just fine. And I do appreciate movies where you can do that because they'll get a lot more fans that way too.
Yeah, and it's tough because you're in this universe with up to 20 films now, I believe, and this includes all the Iron Mans and the Thors and the Avengers. But yeah, Lauren said it takes place right after Captain America Civil War, so literally his father was killed in Captain America Civil War. Not a spoiler, the movie's been out for a couple years now, the Russo brothers, phenomenal filmmakers. Yes. And now T'Challa's returning home to become king. And that's kind of the basic plot. He has to kind of hold down the fort and keep everyone safe, keep the world safe as well. But there are villains who want in, and they want some of that vibranium, and that's kind of the whole kind of concept. But it's a lot deeper than that. But we don't want to spoil anything.
Right, and this cast is just amazing. Chadwick Boseman, who I interviewed last year for Marshall. And I know Kevin's talked to him a couple times. He's just such a great actor. You don't see Chadwick Boseman on screen. He is all these different characters that you see him in all these movies. He's so great. And Bassett plays the Queen Mother, his mother. And I have to say, the females in this movie are so good. I know the movie's called Black Panther, but the female characters that Black Panther has around him are just as powerful, and they have some of the best action scenes, if not the best action scenes in the movie. Danai Gurira, who plays the female general, the lead general, she's so good in it. Of course, we all know her from Walking Dead, but there's this scene where they're in a kind of a casino atmosphere, right?
Yeah, South Korea.
In South Korea.
Yep.
And she takes her spear, and it's just so good. I don't even want to give anything away.
Yeah.
All the characters are so good. And Letitia Wright,
she's amazing.
Yes.
But
plays his sister.
Laura mentioned the women in the film. The scene she's referring to in South Korea is a single take action sequence, which is really, really cool, and what Ryan Coogler likes to do. But if you're watching this scene, it's incredible to watch. The camera kind of starts on the ground with a gunshot, goes up to Danai Gurira with her spear, back down to the bottom. It's very, very well done, which then leads into a car chase. And not spoiling anything, you've seen these scenes in the trailer. But, with the car chase, I got to bring up one of our favorite musicians, Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we love Kendrick, and we've seen him live before. I've been listening to him for many, many, many years, and kind of to see his... I mean, we've seen his songs in trailers, but to have him actually curate an entire soundtrack
was amazing.
Yeah, we listened to a lot of it on the way home from the movie just now. I've been listening to it for about a week and a half now. I love the soundtrack.
It's really fun because it really fits well into the film, and it's also kind of it's just a nice little touch, especially in the action scenes.
Yeah, and as Lauren mentioned, the women in this film are
so
really the
good.
leading characters. Like Chadwick's character is a solid lead in the sense that he allows the film to embrace everyone. It's not just him,
right?
Which is a hard thing to do considering the movie's called Black Panther. But Chadwick, as an actor, and he just discussed this in an interview I did with him, you kind of have to lead everybody, but when you're watching the movie, you walk away with, oh my God, Danai Gurira was incredible.
So good.
Yeah, but Letitia Wright, who plays a similar character to Q from the James Bond films.
All her little gadgets that she plays around with and shows her brother how to use is so fun.
Yeah, and the suit, the kinetic energy idea, you'll see it's really, really cool how they pulled it off. But yeah, on the positive note, and there are things that I didn't love about the movie, and we'll get to those shortly, and that I think maybe we'll... I know there's a lot of Marvel Cinematic Universe films, but maybe we can talk about some of our favorites along with Black Panther as well. But on a positive note, I think the action is incredible. I think it's just really well done. You can see a lot of it. I mean, there are some quick cuts at times, but specifically the longer takes of action. And the car chase scene in South Korea is amazing.
Yeah, I'd say the action scenes were my absolute favorite. And then the female characters as well, because these are all characters that have to introduce themselves for the first time ever in this movie that was again titled Black Panther, and they really stood out and made it their own and was just amazing. I mean, the cast, I really didn't have any conflicts with anyone's performance. Andy Serkis was amazing as one of the villains.
And I mean, we're a big Andy Serkis household. It's a bit of an obsession though, because last year with the films that came out, Caesar in War for the Planet of the Apes, I thought he was the best actor of any actor that performed last year. I'm now having an ADD moment here, but I'm thinking about Phantom Thread as well, which is a movie we forgot to mention at the beginning of the podcast as one of our favorite movies. But
yeah, well, you can go to my site for my whole top 10 and honorable mentions, but. Yeah, I mean, I think Black Panther was, I really liked it overall, mainly positives. I mean, the female characters and everything were just amazing in it. I mean, like, a little bit on the negative side, I thought some of the CGI didn't look good in only some of the sequences.
Yeah, there were some shots during the waterfall scenes when they pan up to, like, the big mountain where it didn't look as good in the CGI department. Some of it looked a little bit video game-esque at times. But generally speaking, specifically like the car chase scene or the fight scene in South Korea, that stuff appears to be very practically done, which is a good thing, even if there are digital effects added to it. I thought that, some of the CG could have been worked on, but primarily I didn't love the way Coogler wrote Martin Freeman's character. I without spoiling anything, I wish another character had more screen time and his character had less screen time.
He's great in the movie. It just seems like his character was overly used and like to put in like exposition dialogue about things. And it just he kind of came back into the movie almost too much, where I'm just like, let some of the other supporting actors like deliver that line. Like he just honestly was not needed as much as I guess Coogler wrote him in there. A good performance, obviously.
He wasn't as interesting. He wasn't interesting enough to me to have the size of the part that he did in the movie. And I love Martin Freeman. We love him in Love Actually. Obviously in the Hobbit films. Great actor. Just I didn't particularly think this particular character was interesting enough to have as much screen time as he did. But yeah, I mean, like, generally positive. I was very, very happy with the film. I've seen it twice now.
And Sterling K. Brown, one of my favorite actors working today. Not going to say anything about his character, but he is in the opening scene. And I love, love, love when movies have an opening scene. And Marvel tends to do this a lot. An opening scene and then have the studio logo come. I know they did that for Civil War. Because I rewatched that before this one, which you don't need to, but I did, and I just think that it adds a dramatic and like excited quality, like, ooh, like where's this gonna go? So I love it when they do that, and shout out to Sterling K. Brown because he's one of my favorite actors working today.
Yeah, one of the anchors I work with in DC here, her name's Allison. She doesn't watch a ton of the Marvel films, and she was saying to me, she's like, "Oh, do I need to see Civil War before I watch this movie?" Yeah, I mean, Civil War was an amazing movie. It's my second favorite MCU film, but. If you're worried about any plot in that film affecting this movie, they actually do give you a flashback back to the father's death scene in Civil War.
And so that's what you need to know really to come into this.
Yeah, and they literally pulled the Russo brothers footage from Civil War and drop it into a scene where it's a flashback, so you actually get the emotion of what T'Challa was going through in that moment and when he's returning home and the weight of what that is to become the king. But yeah, I mean, performance-wise, across the board, everyone is awesome, but Michael B. Jordan, arguably one of the greatest comic book villains of all time.
So his best performance that Michael B. Jordan has done, I've seen everything, every movie he's been in. I mean, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes. It felt like I was in there for an hour and a half. It was so quick. And definitely stay through the whole entire credits. There is a middle end credit scene after the initial credits, and then one all the way at the end. And I think they're both personally worth staying throughout the film. They're really good.
The middle one particularly, which I won't get into why it's important, but the middle one to me is a big reason as to why I liked a particular character in the movie. And maybe eventually a couple weeks from now, and we're going to try and do this every week with every movie coming out. And even the big ones specifically. We wanted to start off a week with Black Panther, considering how big this film is going to be and how important it is to a lot of people.
Did you say, is it going to do $200 million this weekend?
Well, the box office predictions have been incredible for this movie. I mean, like, initially I was reading 100, 120, but again, it's a 4-day weekend, it's President's Day weekend, so we'll see how the numbers skew in the 3 days, but, you know, it could open to as big as something like The Avengers or something like that. But before we go, let's give our ratings real fast on this, and then maybe just real quick rank some of our favorite MCU fans to give the audience kind of like where we fall in the MCU universe. So.
This is not going to happen a lot, but I think we do agree. I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. The cast is great. Action scenes are great. The only little problems I had were some CGI was a little funky, and an initial part, like the first 20 minutes after that opening scene, until Michael B. Jordan really gets into full action, I thought was just a little slow. But again, I thought that it went by really fast, and I'm totally recommending it. Everybody should definitely see it who's a Marvel fan, and you don't need to even be a Marvel fan to see this, and that's why I think it's going to stand out in the Marvel universe. A 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 as well. To kind of give you an idea of where I stand in the MCU, my number one MCU film of all time is Winter Soldier. But I also love Winter Soldier specifically because of the practical effects that the Russo brothers really kind of engage you with. Specifically the bridge scene. The bridge scene in Winter Soldier is my favorite action scene in an MCU film. Then I would go Captain America Civil War, probably Iron Man 1, Avengers 1, Guardians, and then this. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably, I will say I'm more of a DC Comics
That's fine,
fan.
Yeah.
But I do love Marvel, and probably Winter Soldier and Civil War. I loved Guardians of the Galaxy though, because that shocked me.
Didn't love the second one though.
Didn't love the second
Forgettable.
one. I thought that was forgettable.
I love Doctor Strange. I like Ant-Man.
Ant-Man
Ant-Man was awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm wearing a Doctor Strange shirt, but I mean, I liked Benedict as Doctor Strange. The movie overall, I thought was just okay.
I just thought that Scott Derrickson did just playing with that whole backwards time thing when they were in that Hong Kong scene blew my mind.
I thought the CGI in that movie looked good.
Cool.
All of the visual effects in that movie, and even I think the
That's
3D looked good in that one particularly.
Yeah, I wonder why. Like, is it if the Strange CGI looked really great?
Did
I wonder why they couldn't fix. There's some really obvious CG problems in Black Panther that I found really kind of. I was like annoyed. I'm like, you guys know this doesn't look amazing. Like this shot does not look like it's finished. But
that's, I mean, that was like one of the main things
quick.
I love of Doctor Strange is because like I thought the story was just okay. I liked Benedict as Doctor Strange, but the visual effects were great.
Yeah, so 4.5 out of 5 for Black Panther. We both loved it. We highly recommend seeing the film. We are going to review movies. One thing I'd like to incorporate into this, which I haven't even talked to my wife about yet, is maybe bringing up a classic film every week that we like. Maybe just to recommend a classic movie every week that we like. But we won't do it this week because we don't have it prepared yet. But I think that'd be fun to kind of do that. And I also would love people to tweet us your reactions to the movie. Her Twitter is at DC Film Girl.
Yes, at DC Film Girl, and you can find all of my fun reviews on there, as well as my site, dcfilmgirl.com.
Yeah, and Lauren does TV reviews in the Baltimore area, so if you live in the Baltimore area, follow her Twitter. You can find out where she's going to be live, usually on Saturdays. And I work in the DC area, obviously, at Fox 5, which is the channel you're watching this on.
And you're at Kevin McCarthy TV.
Yeah, and this is our movie room. I mean, we literally have been collecting films since we first started dating. We fell in love because of the movie Drive.
That's still my favorite movie of the last 6 or 7 years. It came out in 2011. It's still nothing has like topped it yet.
That's the film that brought us together. I mean, it was out at the time, or we were talking about it a lot. I mean, Cliff Martinez's score.
Did it come out in 2011?
I don't remember the exact year.
I think it was 2011.
When we first started dating, it was on Blu-ray.
Yeah, so it was 2011.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we watched it at your house. And
yes.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, that's gonna be it for the week. We don't have a name for this yet. We're trying to figure that out. So if you have any suggestions, just comment below.
We might do a couple and do a poll to see what people like.
Yeah, and when you see Black Panther, comment below with your review, and maybe we'll read some of those next week. We'd love to hear from you guys, what you guys thought about the film, this is just the taste of the movies that we love, so we hope you enjoyed. Check out dcfilmgirl.com. Very good written reviews, obviously, and her interviews with Sterling K. Brown as well as Chadwick Boseman for Marshall are available there as well, so lots of things.
And then Red Sparrow will be available shortly.
Yeah, we interviewed Jennifer Lawrence yesterday for Red Sparrow, so we'll have that coming up. But this is our first one, and thank you for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.